There was once a quiet town tucked between the blue ridges of Colorado, a place where time seemed to move slower than anywhere else. The locals called it Silver Hollow, a small valley surrounded by pine forests and the echo of train whistles far away. In that town lived a young man named Evan Carter. He worked at his uncle's hardware shop, but never really cared much for his duties. Each day he arrived late, often with excuses. The alarm didn't go off, or I'll finish it tomorrow. He had dreams, big ones, of opening his own workshop, inventing things, maybe moving to the city someday. But dreams require effort, and Evan's favorite pastime was postponing effort. His uncle, Mr. Wallace, was a patient man, but not blind. "Evan," he would say, "time is like a river. Stand still too long, and it carries everything away, even you." Evan would nod politely, pretending to understand, then slip out early to meet friends by the lakeshore. He thought there would always be more time for work, for change, for greatness. But time, as he would soon learn, waits for no one. One late afternoon, clouds rolled over the valley like dark curtains. Rain began to fall, heavy and cold. Evan hurried to close the shop when he noticed an old man struggling with an umbrella across the street. The man wore a long gray coat and carried a small leather case. He looked like someone from another century, his white hair tied neatly, eyes bright despite the storm. Evan ran to help him cross. "Thank you, young man," the stranger said, smiling. "You've saved my tools from drowning." "You're a craftsman?" Evan asked. The man nodded. "A clockmaker. The last one still traveling these parts, I suppose. Name's Mr. Aldridge." They talked under the shop's awning as thunder rumbled above. There was something magnetic about Aldridge. Calm, wise, and strangely timeless. Before leaving, the old man said something that made Evan pause. "If you ever wish to understand time, truly understand it, visit me tomorrow at the old train station, before the morning whistle." Then he disappeared into the rain. Evan thought little of it. "Maybe another old man with riddles," he muttered, and went back to his lazy evening. He promised himself he'd go see him, maybe later. The next morning, the town awoke to the distant whistle of the 7:15 train. Evan, of course, was still asleep. The alarm buzzed twice before he groggily hit snooze. By the time he got dressed and ran to the station, the platform was nearly empty. Mr. Aldridge stood there, waiting beside an old wooden bench, holding his leather case. His expression was patient, but his eyes revealed quiet disappointment. "You're late," he said. I overslept," Evan stammered. The clockmaker smiled faintly. "So does the world, every morning." He gestured for Evan to sit. Then he placed a small clock on the bench, brass, delicate, with a single hand that moved slower than any normal clock. "This," Aldridge said, "is no ordinary timepiece. It runs not on gears, but on choices. Every decision winds or unwinds it." Evan frowned. "Sounds like a fairy tale." "Perhaps," said Aldridge, "but let me tell you a story about a man who thought time would always wait." And as the morning fog thinned around them, the old man began his tale. "Long ago," said Aldridge, "there was a ruler named King Rowan who governed a small mountain kingdom. He was generous, but careless. His people adored him, yet his kingdom slowly decayed because he could never make decisions on time. Each day," Aldridge continued, "his advisors came to him with matters of urgency, roads to repair, soldiers to pay, crops to harvest, and every day he said, "Tomorrow." His palace garden held a grand sundial, cracked from neglect, its shadow never accurate. He said it reminded him that the sun always returns, but he didn't see the cracks growing deeper. One winter, famine struck. His advisors begged him to open the royal granary. He said, "Tomorrow." The next day, the doors were buried under snow. Hundreds suffered. When the snow melted, he vowed to act sooner. Yet months later, when bandits raided his borders, he delayed again, waiting for the perfect strategy. By the time he chose, the battle was lost. King Rowan grew older, surrounded by the ruins of his hesitation. One morning, he received a letter. His dearest friend from youth had fallen ill and wished to see him before the end. The journey would take one day. Rowan looked at the sun and said, "Tomorrow." By the time he arrived, the friend was gone. On the bedside table lay a note that read, "You were late again, my king." Aldrich's voice lowered. And so the king ordered his sundial repaired. But the craftsman told him it was too late. The foundation had cracked beyond fixing. Evan listened, chills running through him. The old man's eyes seemed to pierce through his soul.
Aldrich stood and closed his leather case. "Now, young man, I have a test for you. It's simple." He handed Evan the brass clock. "Between sunrise and sunset, you must complete 3 tasks for me. They are not difficult, but each must be done before the next hour passes. If you delay, the clock will stop, and so will your chance." Evan frowned. "What happens if I fail?" Aldrich smiled. "You'll learn the same way the king did." Before Evan could ask what that meant, the old man vanished into the morning crowd.
The first task was written on a small card inside the clock's base. "Help Mrs. Hargrove fix her porch before noon." Evan knew the woman. She lived at the edge of town, her wooden steps long rotted. He checked the clock. The single hand ticked slowly, almost hypnotically. He looked up at the sun and thought, "I've got plenty of time." So he stopped for breakfast, chatted with friends, and by the time he reached her house, it was nearly midday. The porch was empty. Mrs. Hargrove sat on a rocking chair, staring at the road. "You're too late, son," she said softly. "The neighbor boy already fixed it. I waited all morning." Evan felt a strange vibration in his pocket. The clock's hand had stopped. Inside the base was the next note. "Bring the painter's tools across the river before the afternoon rain." He hurried this time. The painter, Mr. Lewis, was setting up his easel near the old wooden bridge. Evan carried the bag halfway, then stopped. The sun was hot, his legs tired. "I'll rest a minute," he thought, "plenty of time." When he woke, rain was falling. The river had risen, the painter gone. The bridge trembled under the current. The clock ticked once, then went silent again. Soaked and breathless, Evan opened the clock one last time. "Save what cannot wait." The message confused him. He wandered through the rain until he reached the train crossing, the evening whistle echoing through the valley. There he saw a small boy chasing his kite near the tracks. The string tangled around a fence post as the train roared closer. Evan dropped the clock and ran. He leapt forward, yanking the child back just as the engine thundered past. Both fell onto the gravel, shaking but safe. The kite drifted into the storm. Evan's chest heaved. The boy cried, "Thank you, mister." When Evan turned back, the clock in the mud began ticking again, louder, faster, until it shone with faint golden light. Then it stopped for good, and behind him stood Mr. Aldridge, dry and calm, as though untouched by rain. "You finally moved before time did," Aldridge said. Evan stared, still gasping. "What was this? Some test? Some trick?" The old man smiled. "The test was life itself. You thought you had hours, but every moment you delayed, someone else moved forward. The world doesn't wait for dreamers, it rewards doers." He picked up the clock. The single hand now pointed at 12, frozen. "This clock will never tick again because you've finally learned what makes it move. Choice." Aldridge placed the clock in Evan's hand. "Keep it. A reminder that time isn't kept by gears or bells. It's kept by courage." The rain eased. Sunlight broke through the clouds, scattering across the valley like gold dust. When Evan looked up again, the clockmaker was gone. Days turned into weeks. Evan changed. He woke early, finished his work, helped others without being asked. People in Silver Hollow noticed. His uncle smiled one morning. "You've been different, boy. What happened?" Evan looked at the brass clock on the shelf. "I ran out of time once," he said softly. "Won't let it happen again." He rebuilt Mrs. Hargrove's porch, repaired the painter's bridge, and began crafting clocks in his spare hours, small wooden ones he gave to children who couldn't afford toys. Years later, he opened his own shop, Carter and Timepieces, with a sign that read beneath it, "Every tick is a chance." And hanging in the center of his window was the old brass clock, still frozen, still perfect. So if you ever find yourself waiting for the right moment to change, remember Evan Carter, the man who almost slept through his own life. Time doesn't move with us, it moves through us. It slips between meals, naps, and excuses until one day we wake up and realize the gate has closed, the sun has set, the chance is gone. The gift of time is not measured in hours, but in choices. Every dawn says, you still have a chance to begin. Don't waste it, because time never waits, but it always rewards those who move before it does.